Konrad Laimer to Liverpool. This is the analysis. This is Kloppzone. And guess who's in the building? It's G, keeping it G. And Ash as well. I'm here as well, so I don't forget myself. G, Konrad Laimer to Liverpool. Could be happening. We're going to break it down today, though, aren't we? We're going to break it right down.
I'm going to break it down, but let's see how he kind of compares with our other midfielders as well. That for me is probably more interesting to find out. And I know you got some stats and stuff, so I'm intrigued to hear.
We've got the stats, we've got the analysis, we've got the comparisons, we've got everything. The only thing we're missing now, G, is a little bit of hype and that Kloppzone intro. This is On the Market, Konrad Laimer to Liverpool. Let's get it! Okay. So, for those of you joining, first-time people, hello. But to those regulars, we've got to say hello to you, though, as well. Sean Doc, there you are. You all right, kids? How you doing, lads? Sean Doc in the building. Connor Burnett. Hello. How you guys doing? We're doing all right, isn't it, Jay? We're doing all right. Azan Ghoul, hey, guys. I'm back. Oh, no, he's back, G. After a week vacation. Gonna rewatch all the shows. Okay, we forgive you. For those new people joining the show, get in the comments because these shows are for you, the fans. We want to know your opinions. This show's about Konrad Laimer. Is he coming to Liverpool? Is he not? Let's break it down. Let's take a look at him. New people in the building. Omar C. What's good? James the Brain. Why ain't you in bed asleep? You look shattered. Don't you listen? The show goes on. Liverpool must. We need to bring this to the fans.
I'm not sleeping until Liverpool sign a midfielder, so it might be a long.
You know what? I'm not, G. We're not. Don't sleep. That's how we're making a stand right now. FSG, because I know you really care about my sleeping patterns. I'm not sleeping until you sign a midfielder. It's as simple as that. But this is Konrad Laimer to Liverpool. We're going to break it down for everybody today. But, G, first of all, how you doing? What about the 9-0? That was a nice little performance, wasn't it? But what does it say for the midfielders still? Do you think some people are kind of going, oh, do we need anybody now? We've just beat someone 9-0.
I think, listen, we won 9-0. So that was, by anyone's imagination, that was fucking good. That was really good. Sorry, my language is a bit late.
No, it's okay. No, it's not morning yet, G. So we're all right.
Yeah, still late. It's late night. Late night. We get to use a bit of foul language. But honestly, 9-0. You can't really ask for more, especially considering where we've been. To then bounce back like that after defeat, you can't really complain too much. In regards to the midfield, I think it was one of those catch-22s, isn't it? Because everyone in the midfield actually played well. who came on. You know, we also had Badgetic come on as well, which I'm super happy about because I really like him. But again, he's another young player, so we do need some experience in that middle. So I'm hoping that Laimer might be the guy. I'm hoping, at least.
Let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's see if he's the guy though first. I think before we get hyped, we need to know if he's the real deal or not. And that's what we're going to do for people today. If you do enjoy the show, just hit the like button, hit subscribe, because you'll never miss another show. That's your only ticket to watching the show. Everything else, it's free for you, baby. Sean Doc is saying, G, let's answer this before we start. Do you reckon we're really going to sign anyone this week? That is the question. That is actually, I'm going to give you one of these for that, because this is a serious question. Gee, Do you actually think we're going to sign anyone?
No, I don't think so. I genuinely don't. We're getting so close to the end of the window. I think, did you say it ends on
Thursday, innit?
Wednesday? Oh,
Yeah.
Thursday. Okay. So today's what, Monday, basically Tuesday, 2
We've
days to
basically
go.
got 2 days to get the deal done now.
And really, when you think about it, I mean, we've got a game on Wednesday as well. So, Klopp's head is already thinking about that game against Newcastle. So whether he's going to have his eye on the game plus an eye on, a potential new signing, it's beggars belief. But with the way that we do business, we're a club who does business very early, very, very early. And that was one of the good things about, when we used to sign players and stuff like that. But let's wait and see. I mean, I'm praying I wake up Wednesday morning just before the game, get hyped for the game against Newcastle, and we sign a player. Now, if we sign a player on that day, we're winning 100% on Wednesday. I guarantee it.
Oh, we are. We really are. But Abhishek Prakash is in the comments saying Laimer's a pressing machine. Before we get to the pressing, before we get to tackling, goals, assists, comparisons, injury records, I think we need to acquaint. I'm mixing my words. You said a bit late. Acquaint is the word I was looking for. It's time to acquaint ourselves with the guy we've been linked with, and it is Konrad Laimer. Austrian, 25 years old, 5'11". Fits the bill, that doesn't it, G? For Liverpool's midfield, 25 years old, seems to be within, that's our target, that's within our blueprint. 5'11", same size as Hendo. Fits Liverpool's bill.
Same size as me, by the way. I'm 5'11" / 6
Well,
foot.
I'm actually 5'11 and a half, I must say, but I
Fair
tell
enough.
everybody I'm 6 foot because you got to round it up. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the 0.5 rounded up. If you do your maths, it's 6 foot. So,
and I know ladies like a tall guy. So ladies, if you were wondering, yes, I am a 6 foot. But nah, he does fall into that kind of mold. 20, as you said, 25 years old, and that was kind of like the key as well. Someone with a lot of experience, playing in the Bundesliga, playing under Julian Nagelsmann as well, playing alongside players like Nkunku. He's definitely someone who I feel like he would have gone under the radar because you've had obviously Sabitzer, we've got Nkunku, the two big names, Timo Werner, players who are more known, shall we say, around Europe. But he's definitely someone from what I've been seeing recently in the last 24 hours and a little that I've watched of him. He seems like he's gone under the radar, but he almost seems like the guy who keeps things ticking in that RB Leipzig team. So let's hope that he's the guy.
Sean Dock again saying, I've heard from Sky Sports Italia reporter Sue Mikov that we are targeting Ishmael Benaker, I think it is. Is that how you say his name? I never know how to say his name.
I just call him Ben.
Yeah, just Benny. Ishmael Benny. But I don't know if it's just bull or not. The thing is, we're bringing you this show every evening. So make sure you tune in on the market for the next 2 nights. We're going to give you a deadline day special as well. Make sure you're tuning in because we're going to break down some players that are linked with Liverpool. We've already done one, giving you our top 10 signings. Get over and watch that one after you've tuned into us now. But we're going to bring it you every night. So maybe Benaker, Benesa, Benny, whoever you want to call him, maybe that's the one that we touch on tomorrow. As Anna said, I haven't seen him play. That's why we're here, G. This is why we do our due diligence. This is why we get to the nitty-gritty and we pinpoint his strengths, weaknesses, stats, and everything in between. So let's take a look at his stats from this season so far. Just your basic goals, assists, games. 2 goals. Let me just get that comment off there so you can see it. 2 games, no goals, no assists. Now, we can't judge off this season. I don't want to judge off this season because it's just started. So when we look back at last season, we've got 2021-22 stats. 15 games played, 4 goals, 4 assists. It's pretty similar, isn't it, G, to our midfielders? When you look at our midfielders, very similar stats. When we compare him to Liverpool here, so we've got 15 games, 4 goals, 4 assists. So his goals and assist contribution. When we look at the Liverpool players, he's the highest. So we would have 8 goal and assist contributions, whereas Hendo was our highest player, as you can see there with 7. Our average is 4.6 goals and assists per.
Hendo was the highest.
Hendo was the highest last season with 7 goals and assists.
Oh well, I thought it would have been Fabinho. I didn't realize, but he wouldn't have got assists. To be fair,
Yeah. Hendo was the highest. But when you look at that, G, first of all, it's embarrassing from our midfield. Average of 4.6 goals and assists, not just goals, not just assists, goals and assists. Laimer got 8, so it probably shows that in probably less games as well, on average, he's quite creative and can get forward and can get us a goal. That's probably what we're missing at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, as you said there, man, he's got double what our average is, and that's across all of the midfielders that we have. Do you get what I mean? All the midfielders who have played over last season up until this season, obviously, like it is a little bit embarrassing to know that our highest probably is Hendo, considering you've got players the likes of Thiago in the middle. Obviously, Harvey Elliott did have injury and stuff like that, so I'll give him a bit of a bly. But it's the fact that he's got more like double. That's quite frightening, man. I can't lie to you. That is quite frightening.
It is frightening. We've got FLB saying he's amazing. He was underrated. Andrad, righty, he's asking for Frankie de Jong. He's the perfect fit, but
we know.
He's not going to come, guys. Let's be honest. 600k a week. Frankie de Jong is not coming. So we've got to look at these reasonable options, people that fit the criteria for FSG, for Liverpool, and the scouting patterns. Not going to lie, Laimer's similar to Henderson. Is that what you've gauged, G, from like watching him, from looking at the stats and different things? Would you say the midfielder in Liverpool is most like is Henderson?
Henderson, yes, but I would also say, obviously not as good, but almost like a cross between the Henderson and Fabinho, because not Fabinho, Thiago. And the reason why I say Thiago is because Thiago likes to pick up the ball from the goalkeeper, he likes to pick up the ball from the defenders, and then he likes to work from there. Laimer does that quite a lot. He likes to pick up the ball from the centre backs and distribute from there. So I feel that obviously, I'm not saying he's Thiago's level, obviously, but he has that in his game, and that's what it kind of reminded me. And obviously, defensively, he's pretty decent as well. So I'll say he's a bit of a cross. But guys, I'm not saying he's on Thiago's level. I'm not calling him a Thiago. I'm just saying he's a
Breaking news.
He's a bit of a cross, like between the two players. Which is what I like, because someone who can pick up the ball from deep but still distribute. That's good, man. We kind of need that in the midfield, as well as obviously the other things we're going to get into.
Yeah, we've got Sean Dock here and Lavish Justin as well on Instagram saying that we're not going to sign anyone. This is all a PR stunt from the owners. We're not signing anyone. I can't see us bringing anybody in. Like you've just said, G, you've literally just said that. 2 days left. Liverpool wrap up business early. Another PR stunt. Do you think the PR stunt this time was Jurgen Klopp coming out and going, do you know what? I have made a mistake. But he's done it at a certain time where at the end of the window now, he can come out and go, I did say I made a mistake. We realised that, but it was too late to take action. So now FSG don't have to put the fingers in the pockets again.
It's an annoying situation, because I agree with that second part that you said there. Like, it is a PR stunt, because listen, Liverpool Football Club are not stupid. They got eyes and ears everywhere, social media, on the ground, newspaper, everywhere. So they can see what fans are asking for. And for them, if they, and this is probably the bit that we as fans are never really going to accept, if they don't see a viable option out there for them, they're not going to sign anybody. So, when we're seeing links towards, and these are not concrete, but when we're seeing links towards, Jude Bellingham's and, the players of that ilk, if that's the player that they want to go for, guys, they're gonna go. They'd rather go for him as opposed to maybe signing a stopgap kind of thing. And again, that's just annoying for us as fans, because obviously we want more. We deserve more. And I think Jurgen Klopp, as much as I've been slating him a little over these last few games, he deserves way better than I think he's been getting recently from these owners.
This is it. We're diverting a lot of the attention onto Klopp and being frustrated with Klopp. But when you do look at it, it's our owners that just aren't backing him. What can Klopp do? If Klopp starts to say the owners aren't doing this, the owners aren't doing that, what are fans going to do? they're not going to be present for games. They're going to start saying FSG out. They're going to start boycotting. And who does that affect? The players and the results. So Klopp's in like he's in that situation, G, that I like to call catch-22. I don't know who I got that one from, but he's in the situation.
Everyone's stealing my phrases these days.
You know what, G? We
I'm gonna start copywriting
phrases clipped up so we can use them as the voice notes and sounds. So catch-22, Jurgen Klopp right now is in that area where he's got to kind of keep FSG on side. He's got to stop the fans from turning against anything to keep them on side for the season. But he's frustrated, so he has come out and said, look, we do need a midfielder. And he's done it at the right time because they can kind of get out of it by saying, it was a bit too late. So I agree exactly with what you're saying. Loads of people in the comments agree. And people saying, get Conor Gallagher. Assad in the building again. Big up Assad. People saying, just get Tielemans. He's worth 25 mil. They've said 16 million. Leicester have said 16 million, take him. I don't know why we're not taking him. Sheffield United play tomorrow. Maybe we sign Sander Berg. If only. Like, look at what we're saying. A Sheffield United player we're trying to get excited about. Coming to Liverpool. We should be looking at players from Real Madrid, from Serie A, from not the Championship.
This is what I'm talking about. And the problem is now, we're at the end of the window now. At the beginning of the window, I know for a fact, nobody in the comment section would have even have thought of Sander Berger. I know for a fact, none of you in the comment section were thinking about Sander Berger. But we're now at a stage where it's like, let's just get Sander Berger. You know what? He's a player that Klopp supposedly wanted a couple of seasons back. I think when Sheffield United was still in the Premier League. Let's just get him in. If he can do a job and he can do what we need him to do, and as much as, again, he's not my type of player that I would want to sign for the club, but if he's a player who can stay here long term, sign him, because the reality is you're stuck with Naby Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain, two players who are awful and never ever here. So it's like it's very difficult to then say, oh well, you know what, Sander Berg, I can't sit here and say Sander Berg is not really that good when he's available, he's good enough to play. Let's just get him in. We're at that stage now where
we're literally at a stage. Someone who's fit, healthy, can play ball, just get them in right now, because we need the backup. We need some and we're not saying he's dead. He's not the quality maybe we want, but we want someone who can come in and do a bit of a job, do a Henderson, because Hendo's legs aren't going to last all season. Fabinho's legs aren't going to last all season. So this is why. Big up Marquez again. Marquez is back. Berger's pretty awful. Yeah, you're pretty right with that one. Berger is pretty awful. Luke Chambers, what's going on? Big up Luke Chambers. Kloppzone's work rate. We keep going, baby. We keep going, baby, all day. But this show is about Laimer. And Azan says, would you take Tielemans, Berger, or Laimer? This is what we'll get to at the end of the show. Remember this one. I'm going to star this one because I'm going to pull it back up at the end of the show and we'll answer that question, because we need to get into what Konrad Laimer could bring to Liverpool. So let me pull up his strengths and his weaknesses. So strengths, tackling, long shots, through balls, dribbling. He's also a great presser of the ball. But what he does do is, or doesn't do, should I say, aerial duels, not as strong in aerial duels. When we look at the likes of Thiago, who wins a high percentage of aerial duels.
And someone's so short as well. That's very weird.
Thiago's so short, but so good. And fouls as well, G. So when you look at that, and then you look at his positions that he plays, CM, DM, and right midfield, also capable as well, G, I've got to add, of playing right back, which could be good for Liverpool because Trent sometimes looks a little bit gassed. But when you look at those strengths and those weaknesses, do the weaknesses worry you, G? Or are they kind of things that you can look past? Because fouls could be tactical fouls. You need to foul people on transitions, but then the strengths, tackling long shots, through balls, dribbling, pressing probably as well, would that fit with what Liverpool have got? Or is it something that we could add that we've not got already?
Well, I'm looking at the strength. So we start off with the strengths. Through balls, loving that. Long shots, loving that even more. The tackling, that's actually pretty decent. Dribbling, yeah, I don't mind that. I think if I had to rank them in order, I would go first long shots, second through balls, third tackling, and then dribbling last. The reason why I put tackling last is because we're a team of interceptions, not really tackling. Do you know what I mean? Like we intercept quite a lot more than we probably do. I'm not saying we don't tackle, of course we do, but we're more of an interception team because of the way that we play. But when I look over at the weaknesses, if I'm being honest, the fouls, I'll probably say that's probably just due to his pressing. If I'm being honest, maybe it's just that in if someone does beat that press, beat his press, for example, he might just potentially, as you said, tactical fouls there. So I'm not really hung up on that. If I'm being honest,
What would you say, G, is like the stamp of Liverpool's midfield? Because when we look at this, like it's all well and good saying the guy can tackle, he takes long shots, through balls, dribbling. We could probably say all our midfielders can do that.
Yeah,
all of them capable of it. Maybe not so much dribbling. That's probably something we would like within our team, but it doesn't say how we would play in a Liverpool setup. What would you say is the most important thing? If you're coming in now for Liverpool, what should we be looking for from our transfer targets?
I think you're looking for a guy who's got a lot of energy, and you're looking for someone who I would say is a bit smart in the middle, because Thiago, Fabinho, they're quite smart, even with their fouling. They're very smart, especially Fabinho. He's very smart with his fouling, and he's very smart with his interceptions. And I think having that IQ in the middle of the park, I feel like that should be something that they will be looking for over. Maybe that's actually the reason why they haven't signed anybody. Maybe they don't feel that there's anybody really with that kind of IQ to really get in there and understand, because we need someone quite desperately. We're in a situation where we needed to kind of come in now. So having someone who can do the pressing, but do the pressing in a smart way. There's no point just running around like a headless chicken. We don't do that anymore. This isn't the Liverpool of old. We kind of press a bit more smarter than that. So maybe they're looking at those kind of attributes potentially, but who knows? Who
does know? This is a great comment for once from Assad. A great comment. Why don't Liverpool ever sign the biggest players in the world? It's weird to me. This is what we've said as a Liverpool fan base for so long, that the only player I can ever think of who was world class when we signed them was Thiago. He's the only player we've signed that was world class in that moment. Why do we never, G, go for these top class players? Is it worrying because maybe players think Liverpool aren't a big enough pull? Is it worrying thinking that our scouting system, our network, don't want world class, they want to build players up? Or is it like a mix of everything? Is it managing market value with expectation, with players that have a hunger and desire to come to Liverpool? What do you think it is? Because this is so true, this statement.
It's tricky. I think it's a mixture of everything, to be honest with you. Alisson wasn't world class when we signed him. I can't back that one. Marque, I backed you 9 times out of 10, but he wasn't a world class goalkeeper before we signed him. It's tricky, bro. It's tricky because everything you said is literally, I think it's a mixture of all. Managing the market, of course. They don't want to be in a situation like Manchester United, where you spend 80 million on Pogba, you spend 60 million on Ronaldo. That's hefty amounts that you're trying to work with. But at the same time, because of the profile of player that we always seem to be going for, it just seems like we are trying to do this building up, and that's the way that they want to work, because they feel that, I think they feel players of that ilk are a bit more hungrier, as opposed to buying, I don't know, a Tony Cruz. I don't know why I threw him in there. I've been saying his name a lot. But for example,
it's because you're dreaming of these players, G. That's what it is.
I would love a Tony Cruz, Thiago, Fabinho. Oh, Jesus Christ. But when you're talking of players of that ilk, I'm not saying he wouldn't be motivated to win things at Liverpool, but the reality is he's won everything, literally everything there is to win, kind of thing in Spain. So it's like he'd only be coming here to just potentially try and conquer the English game. So would he be hungry enough? I don't know. And then you look at players like Mbappe. Mbappe, that's just due to wages. Like we have a wage structure here. Trying to sign a player like Mbappe, it would seem basically impossible. But also, and I know Liverpool fans wouldn't like this, but Liverpool isn't the pinnacle. And I don't feel like we ever have been in terms of
keeping it G.
no,
Liverpool isn't. I'm glad. I hope actually we've not got any of those kind of Reds in this show because
I haven't got
Liverpool
time.
isn't the pinnacle. I know what you're trying to say though.
Yeah,
Tell
it's
us
like
what you're trying to say because I think I know what you're trying to say.
It's like you got to look at it like this. Obviously, the last 30, obviously before we won the Premier League title, then 32 years or whatever it was before we'd actually won a league title. So therefore, we cannot have been really considered a big team. I'll say club historically, but I didn't view us as a big club like that. I find it difficult to view a club as big if you're not winning a league title, and especially going 3 decades without winning one. You can't really call yourself a big team anymore. So you can only look at the history. And I think when over that period of time, Manchester United overtook us as the biggest club out there. Real Madrid will always be the biggest football club in the world. Barcelona probably the second. Then you've got teams like Bayern Munich who would always be up there, and like Mane, will always go there and always have that possibility of winning in the European stages and stuff like that. And I just think that with Liverpool, it's a fantastic place to go before you go there. So, but like Luis Suarez, you own your skills in the Premier League. You know, you play fantastically there. People know that, you know, this player is a top quality player. He's playing in the Premier League. He's smashing it in the Premier League. Barcelona, Real Madrid. Coutinho, smash it in the Premier League. Barcelona. Alonso, smash it in the Premier League. Real Madrid. Mascherano, Barcelona. Torres, well, he went to Chelsea, but Chelsea were a bigger club or bigger team than us at that present moment in time. It always feels like we're not the pinnacle. And I do believe that now it's not just through signings, obviously, but signings play a major part. If the owners actually showed a bit more balls, I think that more players would actually view us as like, you know what? They're building something here. Why can't we have a Galactico? You know what? Why does it always, like, people think a Galactico means you must spend a lot of money on players? That's not necessarily a Galactico, because Thiago didn't cost a lot of money, but you could find players of that kind of ilk and put them together in a team and just keep adding until you have a solid team. We know that Klopp doesn't like working with big numbers. So guess what? You get rid of all the crap and only have quality, Bob's your uncle. Now players are going to want to start coming here. Now players are looking at Liverpool thinking, they're building. Because at the moment, they're looking at Manchester City and saying, they're building. They got Kevin De Bruyne, they got Haaland, they got Bernardo Silva, you know, the Phil Foden is obviously just coming through. Like, they're building these kind of players with obviously the manager that they've got. Just pushes them forward, man.
It does just push them forward. I like this though. Are Liverpool the English Dortmund? Developing average to good players and making them world class, then selling them for a good amount. This is a nice little analysis here because when you actually think about it, when have we kept hold of our most prized possession? Apart from Steven Gerrard, when have we ever kept hold of our most prized possession? We might say Mo Salah no, but I can't think of anybody else, G.
As you were talking, I was trying to run through all the names in my head, and I was thinking, this just brings back the point, man. It's the same thing. Like, as I said, we're not the pinnacle, so I don't see us keeping the best players here. Sadio Mane has left, you know, one of our best players at this club, and he decided that he'd rather pastures new than opposed to trying to sort out, you know, a deal here and, you know, potentially staying at the football club. So again, it does show for me. It shows that, a bit like what Asad is saying there, we're kind of like the fourth most attractive team kind of thing. We're not really the team that people go to and think, this is where I'm going to stay for the rest of my life and things like that. Whether that's due to because they know of our wage structure and things like that and transfer budget, and they understand that from a football economical view, maybe, but it needs to change. It needs to change.
It does need to change. But like we said, That's the history. We're trying to look to the future. We're trying to see if Konrad Laimer would be a good fit for Liverpool Football Club. So far, things are looking like he could slot in there. But we need to break it down a little bit more. And what I want to do now, G, I want to kind of compare Laimer's averages to the averages of the players that are already within our midfield. Now, I compared it with the 5 players that I feel like get the most game time and have the most impact at Liverpool. So we've gone with Henderson, Milner, Thiago, Fabinho, and Keita. I've gone with those 5 players. So let's take a look at some stats, because we've looked at goals and assists, which Laimer tops that chart. But let's have a look at let's take a look at this one. So per game averages in a defensive aspect. He gets 2.5 tackles per game, 0.8 interceptions per game, and commits 1.6 fouls per game. But when we look at that compared to Liverpool's players, it reads like this. So I've put tackles and interceptions together. This was across the whole of last season. Okay, so every game last season, these are the stats comparing Konrad Laimer to Liverpool. Now, Laimer last season got 55 tackles and interceptions combined. Our highest player, Fabinho, 113. That's double and then some more than what Laimer did last season. Now, we're on about bringing Laimer in as this pressing monster, as this guy that can break up play and start attacks. But now I'm starting to look and think, can he do that in a Liverpool squad? 55 tackles and interceptions compared to Fabinho, 113. And our average across those 5 players, G, is 82 across the season. So Laimer significantly down when it comes to defensive stats. What would you put that down to? Do you think it's because he may press higher, so you're likely to miss out on interceptions? Maybe you don't create the tackle, but you create mistakes? Or do you think maybe it's a false perception what we're given by him when we see him play?
It could be a false perception, but to be fair, he didn't play that many. He didn't play as many games as a Fabinho, as a Henderson. Like, they basically played almost every
Does
game.
that worry you as well, though, G, that he's not playing that many games for Leipzig? Why the hell then would we bring him in and let him play loads of games for Liverpool? We've already seen what a Leipzig midfielder can do at Liverpool.
Ash, honestly, I've reached a stage of I don't care. I don't care. Can he do the role that we need him to do? Okay, so we're gonna go by that basis, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think it's just more the case that of not playing as much. Maybe he's not really required as much in that RB Leipzig. I don't really know too much because I know Sabitzer. I don't think he was there last year. I think he went to Bayern Munich. But even, well, to be fair, even then, if he's gone to Bayern Munich last season, then I expect him to be playing a lot more games.
Exactly, yeah.
But it's weird because 15 games, 4 goals, 4 assists. That's 8 goals and assists that he's got in 15 games. That's basically just a bit under half. So then I'm looking at that thinking, well, he's got a good little record. So it's not like he's a poor player. So whether the manager just didn't fancy him, didn't need him in the squad or in the team as much, that will probably something that I would have to look into in regards to how Leipzig play, and is he somebody who fits into their mold at all, to be honest with you. But from what I have seen of him, I would say he could probably fit in. You know what? He'd end up being a squad player, and that might be the. I don't know if that's the issue or that's the key here. Is that I'm not saying that he'd come in to be a starter. No way. He would obviously potentially start now because we haven't got anybody, but he would be more of a squad player. But if he's more available than Keita and Ox, well, he's ticking a lot of boxes.
Does his age come with a benefit that he has played Champions League football? He does have some consistency within his domestic league. He can get goals, get assists. His stats don't read too bad. So he is that type of mold of player where he will grow at Liverpool. We can turn him into this type of player. But we kind of need ready-made. Like, what we're doing all the time is hope. Instead of taking a risk, go out there and sign someone who's 30, 31 years old, who you might get 3 years out of, but you're going to get world-class years. And I know you went back to him before, Tony Cruz. Like these type of players, get them in. Or like your Goretzkas and these type of players, physical players that we know can stay injury-free, that we know are going to get game time, not every week, but maybe come in for a Hendo, give Hendo some rest and be physical and add quality. But Laimer, I don't know if he's got that quality to make anything different happen. We want this plan B. This is just a plan A minus. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like you're coming in and you're just doing what Hendo's doing. Whereas Elliot can start a game and do what Hendo's doing. But when you think of Liverpool's midfield, or when you think of Pep Linders, when you think of Pep Linders, he loves.
Yeah, by the way, his name is like Voldemort. I'd prefer if we just call him He Who Must Not Be Named.
He Who Must Not Be Named. For those of you, G, cover your ears. He Who Must Not Be Named is Pep Linders. So, you nearly heard it then. So, for He Who Should Not Be Named, he likes one thing and one thing only. Run, run, run. So, I want to see if Laimer fits into that mold of run, run, run in my midfield. So, running stats. Let me pull these up. Konrad Laimer versus Liverpool Football Club running stats. Laimer's running stats so far this season, 9.6 kilometers on average per game so far this season. Compare that with Liverpool's midfield. On average, those 5 players that we spoke about, 11.2 kilometers. So they're already running 2 kilometers on average more than Laimer does. And James Milner, top of the shop, obviously, again, 12.1 kilometers per game. When I look at these stats, and I'm not even thinking about Laimer right now, when I look at this, is that prime example of this is why the hell we're getting injured all the time, Pep. You're constantly making our midfielders run 2 kilometers per game more than your average workhorse midfielder. That means all our central midfielders are going to get all this lactate built up. They're going to have tight hamstrings because nobody, G, can sustain running 11.2 kilometers per game, week in, week out, and then not expect to get injured, can they?
100%, man. And I do feel that some of this running is actually quite pointless that we're doing in games. I don't really feel that the way that we press at times, not all the time, because sometimes it works fantastically, but there are times in games when you think to yourself, we don't necessarily need to do all this running. Let the ball. Like, one thing I always learned from my manager was, because I was, as you know, I'm very, very lazy on a football pitch. But one thing I always learned was...
G, do yourself some justice. You ain't lazy, bro. I've seen you.
No. I was one of those players. Give me the ball in the dangerous areas, but I'm not going to do all of that crappy running. I hated it. But it was one of the things I always learned from managers was let the ball do the work. You don't necessarily have to keep running around because you're just expanding energy for no reason. Do you know what I mean? If you run 10 yards instead of just passing the ball the 10 yards, what was the point in that? You've burnt out a bit of energy. By the time you've gotten there now, you're a little bit, so you're not going to be super tired, but you're a little bit tired now. So you've taken away from 100%, you've now gone down to 95%, when the reality is you could have gotten there with 100% of your effort, of your energy. So I do feel that some of the running that we do is quite pointless. And as you see there, Loma's got 9.6, James Milner's got 12. That's already 3 more than Laimer himself. So I'm looking at that thinking, if he came to Liverpool, that would probably go up. If I'm being honest, that would probably go up to about 10.5, 10.5, I reckon.
Is this the problem then? Like, chasing. We think chase. I called it pressing, but then He Who Should Not Be Named came out and he was like, we don't press, we chase. We chase, everybody. We want to chase. So when they're chasing...
If he ever hears you mocking him, Jesus Christ.
He's going to come for me, innit? I will slap you with my insanity book, yeah. I'll slap you with it.
Make me insane as well.
When he goes on about this chase, One, it means more miles in the legs of the midfielders.
Mhm.
And two, it means exposure in the areas we don't want to be exposed, which is on Trent's right-hand side and
Mhm.
in behind our back line. This chasing's just got to stop because I genuinely believe if we stop this chasing, just like the last match, and we protect our back four with two midfielders, give Harvey Elliott or Carvalho that freedom, we solve so many problems, G. And
Mhm.
then you've got a Laimer who can come and sit in a double pivot and use his skills because his skills are progressing with the ball, making the right decision, ball retention, things like this. But right now, I don't feel like he could fit into that system that we've got because he's not a big runner. He's not
Mm.
someone who breaks up play with big physicality. His interceptions aren't high, like the likes of a Naby Keita. So, will it be a case of signing another midfielder who then we don't know where they slot in?
And again, if you look back at all the names that we've been supposedly looking at, so and these are just obviously just reports and fake reports. So you're Frankie De Jong, Jude Bellingham, Neves, Tielemans, Laimer, God knows who else out there, whoever other midfielders you've been linked with. I said this before I think on the previous stream. They're all different midfielders. None of them do the same thing. Nunes, none of them at Wolves, none of them do the same thing. So it's like that's why I was kind of in that mode of, or I was in that thought process of we're not signing anybody because all of these players are different. None of them seem to fit the mold that we actually need, which is, as we say, a pressing monster or someone who can go in the middle and just kind of, get about and everything like that. But, and as I said, it's FSG, but Klopp does need to take a little bit of blame for that because of the style of football. Klopp and Pep, to be fair, the style of football that we have, this won't work long term with the players that we've got. And I said this before on Jerry's stream. You even heard Van Dijk come out and say the midfield is our engine. Van Dijk,
Thank
like
you.
your own player, your own centre back, the guy who has to play behind that midfield is even telling you we probably do need some more midfielders because of the way that we play. So either you have to sign players or you have to change the way that you play. So
Yeah.
as you said, maybe we do need to play more of a 4-2-3-1 potentially, or something of that kind of ilk, just so that it's a lot more conducive for us to be able to push forward and play and have these players like Milner, like Henderson, like Fabinho, like Thiago stop picking up these injuries and putting so much mileage in these players' legs. Look at, obviously, I know these are world-class players, so I don't want to compare too much. Pirlo, Xavi, Iniesta, Tony Cruz, Luka Modric, Sebastian Schweinsteiger. That's just six that I can think off the top of my head. None of these players were ever fast.
No.
None of them. Like even in their prime, they were never fast. But they all played past 30. And if we're probably being honest, they were probably better after 30 than they were
I
in
love
some
this,
cases.
G. I love this because do you think Liverpool, Thiago fits that mold of all those players you've just said,
Yeah.
Schweinsteiger, Pirlo, Xavi, all these players. Do you think Liverpool are cutting Thiago's career short because of
Oh,
what they're asking him to do?
100%. We saw during the what was the last international tournament that was played? I think we asked this question the other day. Whatever that was, we saw Spain in there. Thiago barely played. Why? Because Thiago's style of football now doesn't work for Spain anymore. That Spain don't do any of that pressing crap. No
Yeah,
way. Spain are about moving the ball, but Thiago used to be able to do that. I'm not
yeah,
saying, of course, he can do that. I'm not saying he can't do that. But where you've played a season or 2, 3 years that you've been at the club now, playing one style of football, everybody in that Spain team is used to a style of football that works for them. And where Thiago can't really fit into that mold, now when he does play for Spain, it is literally you're bringing him on because you know he's a quality player. So
yeah.
you're just kind of potentially even just giving him more of a free roam and do your thing kind of, kind of settings. And I think that with that, we're cutting his career easily, in my personal opinion, 2 to 3 years. I think he's going to be 2 to 3 years, a bit short if he stays at Liverpool throughout these next few seasons. And I think if he was at a Real Madrid or a Barcelona, he'd play until he's about 39 easily, because his IQ is like on 100. He can see things before anybody else. We've seen glimpses of it. His first game, I remember watching him thinking, wow, like we've actually signed, like you can tell the difference between a world-class player and these guys. You know, you could just see it in the passes, the way he moves the ball, the flicks, all these kind of like nice little touches. He can do that on a consistent basis. But in this tactic, you can't, man.
You know what you're saying? Like, Virgil has literally come out, people. Virgil van Dijk has literally, right, come out and said, we need midfielders. Do you know why? Because the brother is sick of being 1v1, 2v1. Why do you think Virgil doesn't dive into tackles all the time? Because he's just going to end up getting injured.
100.
He's sick of it being 3v2, 2v1, overrun at centre-back. No centre-back wants to be exposed so much.
Especially
and he's
out wide.
getting to that stage in his career now where he's thinking, right, I want to protect myself a little bit for the World Cup because this is a big thing for me and my country. Mm-hmm. And two, I've saved your bacon so many times. It's time now to save me a little bit. Put some protection there. Tell Trent and Robbo to park the bikes up a little bit and help me defend and get some creative midfielders in, get some creative players in and focus on attack. Virgil has come out and he has said it, people. So listen to him. He's not saying it for no reason. If Virgil says we need midfielders, guess what we need? Midfielders. Oh, my days. Sean Dock, big up yourself 100%. One of our top followers. We love having you in here on the show saying, can I just say, lads, I'm only new to the channel. I've heard of you for a while, but Christ, the amount of work you put into this and the stats you pick out, incredible work, lads. Look, like we always say, Sean, we do this, one, because we love it. Two, because we are 100% Liverpool fans, have been for over 30 years without revealing my age. Like, we love the club so much, but we just didn't see anybody being honest and giving you a true opinion of what life as a Liverpool fan is like and what needs to be said. We're doing this for you, the fans, as fans. So come in every single time. Anyone that's new that's listening now, get in the comments with us because we want to have discussion with you. We want to know what you think. If you've got a question, if you're not sure about something, ask us because we know a lot more about the club than some people may let you believe. So ask us questions. That's what we're here for. But this is the one, G, and you've said this a few times now. Kloppzone, can I put something to you guys? Not many have brought this up, but a friend of mine has said to me that we changed medical staff. We've said this, haven't we, G? A couple of times under Klopp. The amount of injuries we had under Klopp the season after we won the league, this season now, some questions need to be asked about that too. Tell them, G.
Sean, I love you, mate, because you're seeing the things these are the kind of things that I'm always like trying to pinpoint, because these are the things that we're always 1 point behind and we're 1 game away. And these are the fine margins that I always like talking about. I know, obviously, you can't always look at life, glass half empty. But if you want to be at the top, if you want to remain a dynasty or become a dynasty and remain that, these are the kind of small things. 100% correct. After we won the Premier League, I don't know why we decided to change our medical staff. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if there was a problem or I have no idea. At that part, I don't actually know. But the fact is, we changed it. And I think we actually brought in Arsenal's old physio.
Yeah.
Why would you? Listen, I'm not a superstitious person. I'm really not. But the injuries that Arsenal used to get was so ridiculous that it was borderline embarrassing from their physio that I would have sacked them a long time ago due to that. The fact that we then go and get him in, I'm sorry, but in my personal opinion, he's got to go. He has to go. That whole physio medical department, I think, is one of the poorest in the Premier League because of the injuries that we obtain alongside, like, it's not all their fault, obviously, because they don't play the matches, alongside Klopp's tactics, whatever we do in training and things like that. But it's worrying. It is so worrying, and it has to be one of the poorest in the Premier League. I'd love to know where we rank in terms of injuries per season, like amongst other clubs.
Yeah, I'd love to know where we rank. Our medical department. Andrew Massey's been the head of the medical at Liverpool since 2015, so more or less since Klopp was there, right? Since Klopp came in, we still had injury-prone players, because you look at Daniel Sturridge, these type of players, they were still injury-prone. But it was when they changed 2-3 years ago to the Arsenal physio when we started to see different things change. Now, some people think that it's down to the head of medical or the medical department. It's not, because we've also changed our fitness department as well. Our head of training and exercise, our head of physical development, and things like this. We change. Think of the training regimes. Yes, it's down to your medical department to get people fit, but it's also down to your trainers, to your coaches, to make sure you're not overtraining people as well. Everybody needs to be in sync. We've seen the All or Nothing documentaries. Everybody needs to be in sync and needs to give an honest opinion. But it might not even be them, G. When you look at Naby Keita, right, what's he come out and said, or supposedly said? He wants more game time at Liverpool. So if Naby feels a little bit of a niggle, but can still take part in training, he's not going to turn around and go to the medical department. I'm injured. I'm not fit enough. I can't play, because he wants game time. So he's going to come and he's going to play with a niggle. Medical departments trust the players, to be honest with them. We see this all the time. We saw it with if you watch the Wayne Rooney documentary, in one of the Euros, Rooney came out. Remember, he got injured in Euro 2004, I want to say.
Oh, his first Euros,
His first Euros, 04. He got the injury to his metatarsal, I think it was at the time.
Yes.
And then he missed that. Then he came back, and then he was tearing up the world, whatever. And then in 2008, he had the metatarsal injury just before the Euros happened. He got back fit, was in training, and he said he kicked a ball and felt his hamstring go. But he didn't tell anybody. He just carried on because he wanted to play so bad. He played with this hamstring injury, but was so poor, and then ended up missing a big chunk of the next season for Man United. So again, we think it's always down to the medical team, to the trainers. The players do play a big part. And when you're an athlete, you want to play week in, week out. So you're going to hide these little niggles. But it's important, we've got to say, you've got to give a bit of honesty to the club, because otherwise long-term injuries are going to happen.
Yeah, obviously the two work in tandem, obviously, just because of the nature of the business itself. But at the same time, it's like a catch. It's a catch-22, to be honest with you.
We need to do it. I've got to record this. Catch-22. Cha-ching. Yeah, baby.
Now you got me self-conscious about how many times I say it. Because look, at the end of the day, you're 100% right. The players do need to hold some level of accountability, especially players like Oxlade-Chamberlain and Naby Keita, the two worst in the team when it comes to injuries. And Thiago slowly becoming in that kind of mold bracket as well. But I don't know, man. I do generally feel that you cannot. Prime example, actually, Robin van Persie was at Arsenal for however many years, kept getting injuries. Spent one season at Manchester United. This is the year that they signed him. I don't think he got injured that entire season. And Fergie was speaking about that, like he did interviews and stuff. And he spoke about that, and he said, it's all here. It's all in the mind. It's always in the mind. And sometimes a player, as you said, will obviously play with, they'll obviously play with the few niggles and things like that. But sometimes it is just in the mind. It isn't just about oh, but he's picked up this injury, hamstring, metatarsal, I don't know, thigh problem, and this and that. And it's like, how can a player pick up so many injuries? From it's not impossible. Of course, you can pick up these injuries, but then either you're not doing something right, or it's a mentality thing. Maybe you're playing, kind of within yourself a little bit because you're so scared of picking up a certain injury. Yeah. That might cause you to gain another injury, because you're playing within yourself. So it's all these kind of things, because you look at some players and they don't ever get injured. I never hear, bar Virgil van Dijk's massive injury, and that was due to Pickford being an absolute plonker. If it wasn't for that, Virgil van Dijk never gets injured. Yeah. Never. Why does he never get injured? Maybe because of his style of play and how he plays. These are all like little things, but that Van Persie one, this just reminded me of that. And Fergie was speaking about that, and I was like, yeah, you see, he got injured at Arsenal, went to United, he never got injured. Fergie left, he got injured. Coincidences are there for a reason.
It's mad, isn't it? Like, it is crazy because, like you said, it's a mix of things, but then you've got certain players. What are they doing differently? Because they're not getting injured all the time. Mm-hmm. Like you said, Mo Salah as well. Mo Salah, Robbo's. Think of Robbo's intensity. He should be getting injured because he's just as intense as our midfielder. Him and Trent very rarely get injured. So it's interesting. Why is it the midfield? What are they doing differently? Is it something they're doing off the pitch? On the pitch, is it something they're hiding from people? Are they just not physical enough? Look at what Trent did. He put size on because he might have thought, do you know what? I need to put a bit more size on. True. It's a strange one. I think it's down to a lot of factors that are adding up to this. But like we said, we are very injury prone in midfield, which leads me nicely on to now, G. Laimer's injury record. So let's take a look at his injury record. So if we look through that list, the one that stands out is 43 games missed, 242 days missed.
Blimey.
In 2021. So we're looking at two and a half seasons ago. Ankle fracture, out for 242 2 days. Now, we understand he's probably had surgery. He's got it back to the strength that he wants to. But then 2 years later, now we're looking at this season, 22-23, the beginning of the season, 2 games missed because of ankle problems. Does that to you worry you a little bit that he's had ankle surgery and ankle fracture, and now 2 years later, starting to see ankle problems as well? It's the problems word that
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, okay, it's not something, he's not twisted it, he's not done a ligament, he's not broken it. It's a problem which suggests that's long term to me, something that's reoccurring.
Well, you look at that. I think one of the things you had up there was adductor. He's had adductor problems before. Yeah. He's had muscle problems. Yeah, so you got adductor problems in the 17-18 season. Then again, reoccurring. Obviously, a few years he's been all right. Then again, 21-22 last season. Ankle problems. That worries me the most. Purely because it's not, as you said, it's not like he's had an injury or anything. It's just more, it sounds like a reoccurring issue of the previous injury that he was out for such a long time. Will he be back to his best? Will he be someone who will just break down in our midfield? And now you're making me think he might not actually be the best solution for us, to be honest with you, because of that. Because we are a team who run, as you said, chase. 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 You know what I mean? That is Liverpool. A lot of chasing around. Is he going to break down on us again? And if he breaks down on us again, we've just got another player that we've just bought for 25 million potentially, who's just going to be sitting on wages with Ox and Naby Keita, chilling in the basement, doing absolutely nothing. And I don't really want that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Ellis, ankles are very important, bro. I agree.
They are fairly important.
You can't really be a footballer without an ankle. I agree with you on that one. But I love what Sean Docker said here as well. And I'm going to pin up what Wrighty said as well in a second. Sean Docker's come in and he said, this is a great statement. Kloppzone, the part of the Moneyball policy, and they're going for players that others wouldn't consider because of injuries. Should we be questioning that too? This is a great point because if you look at someone with an injury, look at someone who may be a little bit tainted, someone who's got a little blotch on the record, they're going to cost you less money because you can pull things up. You know what it's like. It's like when you go into IKEA. We've all been to IKEA before, whatever you call it. IKEA, whatever you call it. We've been there before. The shop that's blue and yellow. You all know where it is where you get your furniture from. We've been in there, and there's a little section at the end, and it's like your little scratches, your little whirs and tears, and you're like, all right, I'm going to dip in there. I'm going to have a look because I want to save a little bit of money here. So you're looking through, and there's beds in there that have got like a little tear in the velvet, or there might be a mirror that's got a little chip on the edge. This is what Liverpool are doing. They're shopping in the bargain bin to get a bargain to turn them. It's like you take it home, you take that bed home, you sew it up. Sew it, good as new. You take it home, you go, do you know what? Let me buff that mirror a little bit. Let me paint it a different colour. Oh, good as new. I've recycled it and refurbished it. This is what we're doing, G. We're refurbishing players. We shouldn't have to refurbish players.
You look at Daniel Sturridge, he's probably the prime example because he came to, like, I knew he was an injury-prone player before he joined us. I was just hoping that we'd be able to get, we got quite a lot out of him, to be fair, anyway, but we should have gotten a lot more, especially in his last year or two at Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp. Imagine having someone like Daniel Sturridge, one of the best finishers I've ever seen at this football club. Absolutely just phenomenal. And we barely, really got to see him under Klopp. Naby Keita, I don't know if I'm going to call him injury prone beforehand, but I will say that he had a few injuries, obviously prior to him joining Liverpool. Thiago was someone as well. He picked up a couple of injuries, at Bayern Munich. He was quite known for that. So yeah, you are right. To be fair, I didn't even think of that. To be honest with you,
about looking at these kind of players.
Yeah, big up Sean, man. It's true. Moneyball football. This is what happens when you have American owners. Look, I love the American culture. I love America. I love everything that America is good and known for. But at the same time, their business models I absolutely detest, and it is absolutely crap. And it's not conducive in the world of football, where it's about winning than it is about making money. That's their problem. They're so focused on making money that they don't have a clue about the football side of things. So when it does come to the football side of things, they have absolutely caught life with a manager like Jurgen Klopp because he's one of the best out there. So you were just lucky that you was able to pick up a manager who's already at an elite level so he can deal with the football. And as we know, he ends up just, making players better and he picks up these players, etc., etc. But, we need better own. I'm not saying better owners, but you need the owners to start thinking a lot differently when they are moving forward, because football's like this. All it takes is one bad season. That's it. It's game done. There isn't going to be a second chance at this. There isn't we can finish outside the top four for one season and then try. No, we haven't got time for that. Because once you do that, all the other teams just keep getting better and better and better. So we need to maybe look at this transfer strategy, and they need to change it. We're not asking for 200-300 million pound signings every single summer. But if you'd actually bought decent players, and I do mean players of top level players, if you'd have done that, we wouldn't be in this situation today. I know that for a fact.
No, 100%. And you know what? We say that it's run like a business, and we're saying they're doing a good job on the business front. They're not, because if you run a business, what have you got to do? You've got to move with the landscape.
Yeah,
you've got to protect your best assets. The best assets they've got right now are Jurgen Klopp and the players.
Yeah,
100% the best assets they've got. Maybe you'll say the stadium, but they're not protecting it. They're not growing that team to create more money within the squad. Because all those players in our team now, let me think about this, all the players. I would say every player in our squad right now, aside from Harvey Elliott and Luis Diaz, are decreasing in value. Every player. Trent's value's gone down from 2 years ago, 100%. When you look at everybody else, they're aging. Mo Salah's value is going down. Van Dijk's value is going down. Maybe Ibu Konate's has gone up a little bit, maybe. But everybody else, Robbo, Thiago, Fabinho, Hendo, Milner, even Nunes. Nunes won't be valued at 85 million yet.
Yeah.
So we've only got now Diaz, Harvey Elliott, whose value is higher and increasing at this moment in time. As a business, your assets should always be getting more expensive. If you're performing well as a business, you should be growing that kind of portfolio and packing it out. But right now, they're not doing it. This is why they do look for players around this age group that Laimer's in of 25 years old.
Yeah.
Because with a chip on the record, with let me pin this up, a fractured bone, they can get them cheaper, patch that up, and potentially resell them on for more expensive. But sometimes it bites you in the ass, just like Naby Keita. So
And this is it. And again, like we say, like with this kind of model, if you are looking at a player like a Laimer as well, you know, is it even beneficial? Because the problem that you have, you're caught between a rock and a hard place. If you sign someone like Laimer and he's got these injury problems, let's say he goes a season, has a decent season at Liverpool. Let's as a hypothetical, has a decent season at Liverpool, wants more money. You give him the more money, gets injured, starts getting injured. A bit like Oxlade-Chamberlain, starts getting injured and injured and injured and injured. Now, you can never predict, of course, it's football at the end of the day. Anyone can break their leg tomorrow morning, and it could be curtains for your, if Mo Salah got injured tomorrow, they'd be absolutely pissed that they've just given him 350,000 a week. But at the same time, when you're picking up players of this kind of ilk, you need to understand, like, it's not going to work out for you long term. It can't work out for you long term unless you're willing to potentially sell this player. And we know Klopp's very loyal. He doesn't just sell players, so soon after getting them. That's why selling Minamino, I was even a bit shocked that he decided to do so, because I know he likes to keep players for a bit longer to almost confirm whether he wants them to stay or not. So it's a catch-22, man. Here we go. It's a
there again. Every time you say that, no, I'm going to be at the ready to go. Catch-22, people.
It is a catch-22, man. But look, my personal opinion is that these owners, I've said this before as well, FSG came to Liverpool and decided to buy Liverpool under the premise that FFP would be run in a certain way. Now, as we know, FFP hasn't been run the way that it should actually be run, because if it had, a lot more teams would have been, penalized for some of the things that they've been doing. If it had been run the way that they wanted to, FSG would have the best model in football. Everyone will try and copy it, etc., etc. Unfortunately, it hasn't been run that way. So where they haven't been able to move with the times and have been relying on Jurgen Klopp's brilliance, we've fallen behind. We've literally fallen behind now. And when I say fallen behind, I know people are going to say, oh, but we got to 4 finals and we've won the Premier League, we've won the Champions League, and etc., etc. Would you say we've been dominating? No. Would you say that we're the best team out there? Hell no. There seems to always be better and better. For all the nice things that people keep saying about this board and the team and things and Klopp, and we've got the best player in this position and that position, and if we have the supposable best players in all these positions, why are we not the ones winning everything then? That part confuses me. If you've got the best usually wins 9 times out of 10, barring, the anomaly of Leicester. They usually win. So if that's the case, what's going on then? Clearly we don't. So maybe things need to be reassessed, and they haven't moved with the times. That's the problem.
I love this. And Remy, stay in the show as well, because big up for being honest and for questioning and calling us out on what we're saying, because that's what we want people to do as well. Remy's saying that, what is this nonsense about the deficiency of the American business model? I say you've no idea about business. Liverpool fans can talk fiction they like to follow. Also saying the idea of football is about winning and not being a business is a nonsense coming from an inept knowledge of business. Now, I appreciate what you're saying, and nobody is disagreeing that they've not run a good business. They've run a good business, but their business now needs to adapt to the landscape if that's going to continue. FSG, when you look at the Red Sox, when you look at all these things that they've owned in the past, what are they good at? They're good at building a business from the ground to getting it to the top. But then we see a lull in everything they have done, because when you're at the top, that's when you have to take more risks. That's when you have to look at your assets and think, right, what do we part ways with and what do we bring in? If you look at FSG now as a business model, is keeping James Milner and Jordan Henderson, as much as we love them, is that a good business model? No. For me, it's not. A good business model would be, okay, Milner, do you want to retire now? Let's keep you as a member of staff so you can influence these younger players, so you can still have an impact within our business structure. But a business model keeping a 38-year-old on a contract of 100 and whatever £1,000 a week, that's not a good business model. Yes, though, what you're saying is the building structure, infrastructure, they're building the stadium, they're growing that. But how much of that is being put back into the club to then protect their assets, help that business grow, which is what we're trying to say. We're at the top now, so this is when they should be taking risks. They've got the best asset in world football, some people would argue. The only way that continues is by doing what you did at the beginning and putting money into it, investing in that business again to help it stay at the top and help it keep flourishing. But that's not happening at the minute, is it, G?
No, it's like, and the thing is, I agree with actually some of what he said there, Remy, because you're right. That's not the be all and end all. The problem that you're gonna have is if you continue to try and run it like a business, that business will fail, because unfortunately, what you have is other clubs who are not necessarily worried about the business side of things, but continuing to get better. Now, let's just say hypothetically, you get a situation. We'll use, I don't know, maybe a team like Tottenham. We'll use maybe like a team like Tottenham, who obviously are nowhere near as good as Liverpool, haven't won anything in the last God knows how many years. Now, let's just say that Liverpool, obviously, I think he said they're worth, like 3 billion now, or someone said there that we're worth about 3 billion now. Now, yes, on the business side of things, absolutely fantastic. That's exactly what you want from a business side of things. If you do not maintain I said Tottenham, I meant to say Manchester United. If you don't maintain that on the football field, how do you expect that to be worth 3 billion in a few more years? It's impossible for that to still be worth 3 billion a few years down the line. If the football side of things are not actually improving, they're not getting any better, you're not winning anything, you're not doing anything other than potentially getting a top 4 finish here and there, second place finish here and there. Now we know that garners in a lot of income and things like that. And I'm not speaking from a place of I know business. I didn't study business or anything like that. You sound like you did. So maybe you'll be able to educate us a bit better. But the reality is, on the football side is the number one side. The business side is not the number one side. That part is a fact. So if that is the fact, if the football side isn't good enough, how the hell do you expect to continue running the business the way that you keep running it if the football side isn't the best or isn't as good, let's say, as it once was, like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, or whenever, like as you said, arguably one of the the biggest and best clubs out there. So that's why I say yes, for the time being. Obviously, we're in this right now. I'm trying to look further ahead. I'm looking in the next year, 2 years, 3 years. What happens then when the team hasn't won the Premier League, hasn't won the Champions League? What happens then? We're right back to where we basically was 10, 15 years ago, to be honest with you, where you become a team who just win the cups every now and again and, go a few years and maybe finish second randomly one or few times and things like that. Eventually, there probably will be another team who will win the Premier League other than Manchester City, potentially. So what happens then if they continue to keep getting better? I'm sure everyone knows as a business, you'll probably go down in price and you won't be worth the 3 billion anymore because the asset isn't the same asset that you previously bought, like buying a car. It's literally the same thing. You buy a car, it doesn't go up in value, it decreases in value. You keep wearing it and wearing it and wearing it. The only way it probably would go up in value is maybe by adding a few bits and bobs here and there, kitting it out, putting extra whatever in your car. That might raise the price a little bit. But if you don't maintain the car, it's going to go down in that price, right?
Exactly. And this is what I want to say, alluding back to your Man City comment and pinning this one up from Remy again. Keeping Milner and Henderson on is a sound business. The opposite is the cost of replacements compared to the revenue generated.
That doesn't
Now, I
make
want to
any sense.
highlight Man City in this because we're not talking about just a business. We're saying that FSG, in terms of net profit, in terms of revenues generated, they've run Liverpool like a really good business. But what we're saying is you can't run a football club exactly the same as you'd run a business because we're starting to see now digression. Now, with Man City, in the same instance, look at David Silva, look at Sergio Aguero, two players of similar age to Milner and Henderson, but they knew when and how to replace those players. When was the right time to get the right replacement in, but still keep those revenues generated? And they did that perfectly. And this is why Liverpool, yes, if you run a business, those 38-year-olds or whatever, think of retirement age, it's 65. In football, it's very different. These type of players might know the heritage of the club. They might know the running of everyday business. They might motivate the team. Yes, I understand that. It's a good business idea to keep them on because they keep your team motivated. But at the end of the day, it's not a great footballing idea because the level of performance is not high enough to then compete with the best teams, which in turn has a negative impact on the revenues because we're not winning trophies. We're not getting these top whatever finishes. We're not getting the best players attracted to come into Liverpool because we look like a team that is being a bit stagnant. So then thinking long term, if you're a business, this impacts you massively. So that's why we're saying now's the right time to replace these players and generate more revenue from bringing younger players in. But I love having you in the comments. Like Remy, this is unbelievable. Really love having you in here. Everyone, like, look, we don't want to slate anyone in the comments. We appreciate everyone's opinion. So let's have a well-rounded debate. Let's not go at somebody. Let's not try and segregate somebody and pin them to the ropes. Let's kind of empower each other here. Let's have a discussion. Let's have a conversation because that's what about being a football fan is all about. Sean Dock, now, when they've slipped down the table, focus is on the Glazers and the debt the club is in. And this is
Prime example.
Yeah, this
Prime
is an
example
of what they have done. Remy, let's give Remy the chance to answer us back though. Okay, let's get it right. How much do you think you get from winning the titles you mentioned?
44 million.
Compared to the costs needed. Look, football, in order to make money, the best way of making money, aside from ticket sales and shirt sales, is by being successful. Like, if you're successful,
you literally can't move without it.
yeah, but it's not the fact of how much the success brings. For example, it's not how much you get for winning the Premier League. It's how much rights you get. Nike then want to sponsor you. The Premier League then want to pay you more money for rights. Sky Sports want to pay you for more game rights. So off the back of success, that's where you make the money because you're the best team in the world. United are very fortunate in a sense that right now they're living off their history. And that's why they're not folding. That's why they're not crumbling as much as they should be, because they still get these rights, because they're still a marketable club. But look at them on the football pitch. That's not going to last forever, is it, G?
Yeah, 100% agree. One question I'll probably ask Remy is this. When did FSG come in, actually? What year was it? This is to you, Ash.
2011, I want to say. Let me have a look. I'll have a look at that for you.
But yeah, so let's look. I'll say 2011-12, that kind of season. I'll ask you this then, Remy. I think that year, did we still have Kenny? I feel like we still had Kenny that season. We finished in, I want to say 8th or something like
that. We finished way low down. We finished close to mid-table.
So I think we finished 8th. Something is telling me 8th, but I can't 100% remember.
2010 it was, G. So yeah, we were more or less right.
Okay, cool. I've just looked here at the table just to see like how much you would earn, etc., etc. Now this is obviously for money now. Obviously, it's not going to be the exact same as it was back then. Do you think that if we finish 8th, now 8th place gets you 28.6 million, first place gets you 44 million. So by my maths, that is 10, 38, what's that? 16? Yeah, 16 million pounds in difference, right? So there's a 16 million pound difference between first place and 8th place. Do you think if Liverpool continue to finish 8th place, based on our model now, well, based on the model that, FSG have always kind of had, do you think we'd be worth 3 billion if we kept finishing 8th? Or do you think that by winning trophies, by being successful, it was able to propel us to this position? Because if you still think that we'd be worth 3 billion now, then I guess that's just what you think. I'm gonna say I don't think that you would think that we would be worth 3 billion, by finishing 8th for about 5 seasons, etc., etc. So again, it goes back to, if you're not successful on the football pitch, which is the most important thing, yes, I do 100% agree. Football is a business, 100%, of course. And that is a major factor in this game. Not that I like it, but it's a major factor of this game. But if we kept finishing 8th, I can't see how we'd be worth 3 billion. We are only worth that purely off the basis that we won the Champions League, we won the Premier League, we've won all these other trophies, and we're one of the best teams in the world at this current moment in time.
And I think this is where I think Remy's got us mixed up as thinking we're saying the team aren't good enough, we're not successful. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is the business now could suffer if they don't put the backing back into the club. Because as you've just said there, Remy, we're winning trophies. Look at the track record. How many trophies have we won in the last 5 years? We are more competitive than periods before this. 100%. That's what G's just said. That's why we are valued at 3 billion now, because we are rated as one of the best teams in the world. If we hadn't won these trophies, and this is what we're trying to say, if we hadn't won these trophies, we'd still be valued around the 300 million that they spent to buy the club. Now, if we continue now on this trajectory that we're seeing, where there's not much backing, don't forget Jurgen Klopp's only got 3 years left after this as well. If they don't replace these assets now or replenish and bring in new faces, the business isn't going to thrive, because we're just going to start underperforming, underachieving, putting too much pressure on young players so that their careers and those assets struggle. Like, imagine in a business, G, if someone had just come in and they've had like 10 business meetings or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you go, right, you're managing the project now. Whoa, what? I'm managing the project? They're going to crumble. Some people, though, they do rise to that challenge. And I'd allude to a Lionel Messi. I'd allude to a Wayne Rooney. Rare breeds, aliens. But as a business model, you should not be putting pressure on a Harvey Elliott, a Carvalho, and these players to kind of drag your team through now. You should be protecting those assets while they're young and trying to build them into these massive CEO powerhouses when they get to the 25 years of age, because you're taking a risk at the minute with them by putting so much pressure on them at such a young age. But
and remember, you're not dealing with players who, without sounding disrespectful, you're not talking about Foden or Jude Bellingham or Haaland, or that's different. When you're putting your faith in those kind of young players, fair enough. You might be able to potentially say you can. Obviously, it's just potential, so you don't actually know. So I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, I guarantee that this is going to happen X, Y, and Z. But you're more assured with a Haaland, a Foden, a Jude Bellingham, all the Pedri, Gavi, Ansu Fati, like just all of these young players who are of that top quality level already at such a young age. You're dealing with players who are below that bracket who we don't know whether or not, just like any player, we never know if they're going to reach their potential. But you're more assured that players of the players I've just named are going to reach it, as opposed to Harvey Elliott, a Curtis Jones. If you're then trying to pray that these guys get you to that position, it's a dangerous game that you're playing, considering other teams will continue improving, continue getting better. And what happens is that gap now that we used to have gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until it reaches a point where Arsenal finish ahead of us again. Tottenham finish ahead of us again. We spent a lot of years behind Tottenham. Like Tottenham were finishing top 4 and we weren't finishing in the top 4. Do you get what I mean? So again, like I say, the business side is 100% important. We've never said that it isn't important. It plays a major part in football, but the football side is more important than the business side. Without the football side, Manchester United don't become this Manchester United that they are today. Regardless of the Glazers, whatever, they do not become this Manchester United without being good on the football side of things first. Once they're good on the football side of things, obviously Manchester United are in the absolute mud at this present moment in time, just due to whatever. But they were a fantastic football team first, before there was all of this bringing in the Glazers and etc. Fergie was here before the Glazers. He was successful before the Glazers. The Glazers came in and were supposed to take them to a whole new commercial level, which they actually kind of did, to be fair. So again, it put Manchester United on a higher stratosphere, which then allowed for them to be able to go 7-8 years without winning a league title, but still be a bigger commercial club than Liverpool, who are more successful, as you said, in the last 5 years. So again, how does that even make sense? How does Manchester United still remain this? Obviously not now. We are now bigger than them commercially. I think, I'm not 100% sure, but how does that happen when they hadn't won anything for ages, but we've been successful for the last 5 years? And again, success is deemed is a perception. Is your own perception, or perspective, depending on what you deem it to be. I don't personally say that this has really been that successful in comparison to other teams.
Comparison to the squad we've got, the manager
we've got, and the other teams the other team that we're coming up against, I would say they are more successful, obviously, than we are. Yes, we are successful, but we're not the most successful.
Yeah.
So, there's always room.
And again, Remy, we love having this debate, and you are bringing some really
relevant
points.
100%.
You're bringing some really relevant points to the discussion. Let me pin this one up, and I'm going to get to the other one that you've just put. The FSG model is geared to achieving success on the field and the potential of the club to generate marketing revenues. The 4.3 billion valuation is due to more the marketing ability.
He's just said it.
Completely agree with you. The valuation is due to the marketability, which is the success on the field. And this is what we want to see. We don't want to see the success now going backwards, because we're starting to see a decline in performances. We're starting to see all these injuries. What I would say is they've geared it to success by putting the right man in charge of their team. So, for example, if you're running a shop, for example, a grocery store, and I'm being very American here by saying grocery, but
I was going to say that. Why did you?
A grocery store, right? And you own the grocery store, and you put the best manager in charge of this grocery store. They're going to be on top of everyone. So you can put whoever you want to as a sales assistant on the shop floor because the manager is going to be on point. But as time goes on, bad habits might start to creep in. This manager then might start to feel, do you know what, a little bit demotivated because they're asking you for someone who can cook the best bread for the morning shift, but they've not got that person. They're asking you for little things, but you're saying to them, do you know what? Do the best with what you've got right now and keep the ship ticking. Eventually, motivations and motives, they're going to start sinking. It's just natural. And this is what we're seeing now at Liverpool. Klopp is the best man for the job. He fits perfectly into what FSG want because he gets the best out of people. But what we're starting to see now with Virgil van Dijk coming out and saying it, Klopp has realised that there is something that we are missing. He knows what we're missing, but FSG aren't willing to give the funds for that thing that we're missing. FSG are trying to bring in somebody who can replicate the job quite well, but they're not going to take us on to that next level. So again, yes, FSG are running it in a business sense where, okay, we'll get you someone who's reasonable, can do the job, but they're not getting what the manager wants. The most important person in this situation is Jurgen Klopp. As soon as he starts to become demotivated, as soon as he starts to think he's not getting the backing from upstairs, you'll start to see a massive change at Liverpool Football Club. And I want to pin another comment up that you put. Let me push back on your philosophy. Liverpool could acquire the best and most expensive players that you suggest and fail to win trophies. We're not suggesting that at all. We're not saying we need the best, most expensive players. We're saying we need quality to come in and be able to replace the quality we've already got. Not injury-prone players, not these players with chips on the record, like we've said about Laimer, who might have an injury record, so they go in and they go, oh, can I get them for a bit cheaper? They're a really good player, but then they might get injured. You know, this is what we're saying. Bring quality in. Bring someone who's going to do a good job for the team and be able to replace someone if there's a sick day at work. Have you got a supply agency on call where you can say, can you come in today? You know your job straight away. You get the job done. Happy days. We're not asking, are we, G, for someone to come in and be an absolute baller and the best player we've ever seen. We want someone who fits that Liverpool mold, who fits within the team, fits within the system, and brings quality and consistency, because right now it's evident that after Henderson, Thiago, Fabinho, there's a massive drop in class. And this is what our problem is, isn't it?
It's the problem 100%, to be honest with you, especially when, you know, your reserve players or your squad players are so injury prone. And one thing I wanted to say as well is I think people, Remy, yourself included, I think we need to understand and we need to do a bit more research in regards to Manchester City's finances and how they actually do business. If you knew how they run, you probably wouldn't say that they're a club who are cheating or whatever the word that you used is. If you see how Manchester City are run now, especially in the last, would I say, 5 years, go and have a little look at how they're run. Go and have a look at what they do off the field. Go and have a look at what they do around Manchester. Go and have a look at all of these things, because then you'll see that in the next 5 to 10 years, they'll have the best of everything, and that club will be making money by itself continuously. Why? Because it will probably be, by the looks of it anyway, the most successful team out there. There'll probably be a team who won't necessarily need to spend the money that they have been spending over these last few years, because it will just keep ticking. It will just continue ticking. Why? They'll be the best. They'll be at the top. They'll have the best academy. They will have the best infrastructure, the best facility. They'll have the best of everything. So they won't necessarily always need to go dip into the market. Yes, they will obviously dip into the market like any other team would do, just like I would expect them to do, because you can't always find quality in your own backyard. But eventually there will be, which is what they're slowly trying to turn into. They'll not that any club probably is, but they'll be almost self-sustainable by the next 10, 15, 20, whatever, however long their kind of target is. And that's what they're trying to do. Yes, right now, what they're doing is spending a lot of money, so to speak, but they're now slowly, as we've seen, started selling players. Their net spend isn't as high as it always has been, Do you know what I mean? These are things that over time will change. Obviously, that's Manchester City because they're a smaller club in comparison to Liverpool. Liverpool are a historic club. I wouldn't say in the last 20 years we've been successful. We've been meaty at best. If I'm being totally honest, with one league title in 32 years doesn't tell me that this is a successful club. It tells me that in the last 5 years, yes, you've won the title, but that could easily go. What happens if we go another 20 years? Are we then going to sit here and say that we're still this 4.3 billion? Well, it's all of these things, and that's what we're trying to say. Is literally, I'm not asking. I think we said it at the beginning of the show. We're not asking for Jude Bellingham. And me personally, I'm not asking for Jude. I'm not asking for Lionel Messi. I'm not asking for Haaland. I'm not asking for Mbappe, Ronaldo. So I'm not asking for all of these players. As Ash rightly said, we're literally asking for quality players to be able to replace the dead wood that you and I both know are currently at this football club.
Yeah. Everyone is saying Man City is better run. I understand where people are coming from.
I never said that they were better run. I never said they were better run.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying, G, in terms of they're a club that is run the right way. We're not just looking at Remy. We're not just looking at FFP and business. We're talking about the marriage of football and businessmen. We're talking about finding a balance. Man City, yes, they might break FFP rules or whatever you want to say, but Man City have found a really good balance in more recent years. In more recent years, they're starting to recruit well. Look at how they rejuvenated a community, and that starts to bring in the revenue from that side of things. Liverpool have built a stadium. They've not rejuvenated the community, FSG, and I'll tell you that for free. They've not got all these cages set up across the borough. They've not got this feeder program where they're reaching out with local clubs and authorities to really make the city a better place. They are thinking just single-minded as a business, and I would say you can't just run a football club like that because football is totally different. If you give back to the fans, the people that matter, you will get revenue in return because loyalty in a business sense in football is worth so much more than just churning over like a cash cow. People saying Man City the best run club in the world in the comments. Look, they're not the best run club in the world.
Yeah, I'm not saying that.
You've got clubs like Brentford. You've got clubs like even Sheffield United when they come up. You've got clubs like Brighton. You've got so many clubs that are run so well. Newcastle, wow, they are run so well now since they've had new owners. They could have done what Man City and Chelsea did, but they're doing things the right way. There are so many clubs that are run well in a business sense, but are Brentford challenging for trophies? No. Are Brighton? No. Are Newcastle? No. And this is what we're saying. We've got to have a balance of being a good business model, but challenging for trophies because that's what's expected of Liverpool now. We're not expected to just, oh, yeah, we'll be a profit business. We'll float around mid-table, but we'll be ran really well as a business. Let Brentford do that. Let them have a nice manager. Let them have a nice club. Let them just keep churning over every year and bringing different. We've got to risk a little bit more. We've got a lot of responsibility on our shoulders. Not us individually, but FSG have so much responsibility now because the fans have given them so much backing. Jurgen Klopp has given them so much backing. So all we're asking for in return is that backing from them to just make the squad as good as it needs to be. We're not asking for the best squad in the world. We just want the squad to be as good as it needs to be. But this show isn't about FSG. It's about Konrad Laimer. And all that being said, which is crazy, and we really appreciate the comments.
Yeah, I was just about to say, anyways, like Remy, like this is a proper, like you've taught me a few things anyway. You've made me like proper think about a couple of bits and bobs. But I think, Yeah, well, as I said, like that's a conversation for another day. We do need to have that conversation though, because there's a lot that we both need to delve into to really understand how Liverpool and Manchester City are currently run, and who is going to be more sustainable in the future and who isn't.
Yeah, 100%. We'll bring a show like that. If people want to see it, we will bring it. We want to bring you the best shows. We don't just want Liverpool fans who loving the club. We don't just want Liverpool fans who hate the club. We want every fan. Like, this is it. Fan doesn't mean you have to be positive. Fan doesn't mean you have to be negative. A fan means you love Liverpool Football Club. And we all do. So this is why we're trying to find a middle ground for everybody to have a conversation. But the news is that Laimer could be coming to Liverpool. We've torn it up. We've been through everything. 25 years old, 5'11". This season, 2 games, no goals. He's a good presser, tackler, long shots, through balls, a dribbler. We've looked at his stats from last season. 15 games, 4 goals, 4 assists. Averages 2.5 tackles, 0.8, 1.6. Compared to Liverpool players, goals and assists are the strongest. Passing not so strong against the other Liverpool players. Tackles and interceptions not. Running not. An injury record a bit skeptical. But we've been through all of that. We've been through everything that we could. We've pinned up so many things, but I said I would come back to this comment for you.
Oh, yes.
Who would you rather take? Tielemans, Sanderberger, or Laimer, based off what you have seen today?
God, it's like Tielemans.
Do you know what? Laimer doesn't get me excited. Going through those stats, looking at everything, I want to bring a player in that I'm like, yeah, I can see you doing well.
Yeah.
I think he's just going to get lost in that regurgitating door of okay players.
Yeah.
I do think Berger could come in and do a good job. I rate him as a player. Injury record, not too good. Tielemans, 100% proven at this level as well. He could do a job.
International Champions League. Tielemans is the guy. I'm telling you.
That is it. 16 million as well. What a steal. But that's the roundup of Laimer. You make your own minds up. You let your decisions be heard. Let us know in the comments after the show. Let us know over on our Instagram page, because you can catch us everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Get over. Give us a like. Give us a follow on everything. But we're going to come back again with a new player on another day. But until next time, as we always say, you'll never walk alone. I'm going for some sleep. Peace!